Hey everybody, it's Shelly Hoffman, and I'm here with our mayor, Dick Clarke, for our Wednesday update. We're a little bit later today just because he had some mayor type things to do, and he took care of that for us. So, how you doing today, sir?
Pretty darn good. I'm happy to see we're getting some rain. I hope we get 3 or 4 hours of rain. We really need it bad.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a good thing.
Yep.
And things are busy. I keep thinking there can't be more to report on, but every week there seems to be something, and things change. It's not like we go from A to B to C to D. We suddenly go from A to E and then back to B and then up to J, and so things change from what we told you last time sometimes. So let me run. The first thing I wanted to tell you is, remember last week we talked about the court screener?
Mm-hmm.
They needed one, and I think because of our broadcast, somebody saw it and contacted the court, and I think she hired them.
Oh, awesome.
So
Good.
we're becoming an ad agency here. But I think it's great that we have this access to the public, and they can hear things live. It's not 2 weeks old. It's as we talk. So we do have a few things. I talked to Mary Augustus in Code yesterday, and I asked her if Greg wasn't around, and I said, "Is there anything going on?" And she said, "Permits people just keep coming for permits." She said, "I think that with the COVID and stuff, a lot of people didn't take vacations this summer, so instead they turned their money and said, let's add a screen room, let's add a deck, let's put a pool in for the kids." And so they just continue to get requests for permits to build, which is good for us as a village, that we have some revenue, but it's also good because it means some people are working. Somebody's got to build those decks, and somebody's got to sell the lumber. And I've heard, I don't know, but I heard if you want to get a pool, start planning for next year, because they're so booked up, because everybody had the same thought. We're not going away, and we're going to put a pool in this year. And good for the pool people. They've been busy, and it's good for the sales tax that everybody depends so much on that, the county particularly. So to me, that's good news when I hear that people are coming in for permits like that. It means things are getting done. It's also good for their state of mind that they didn't just give up the whole summer. They got something out of it. So that's good.
Now it is. And contractors, I'm sure you know this, some of the contractors I talk to, they're booked until end of August, September. So they have all kinds of projects and things going on. So
we were talking to people about sidewalks. We've got some more sidewalk work to do. And we talked to the guy that we've had the last 2 years, and you're allowed to just extend the agreement so you get the same pricing, which is beneficial to us.
Yeah.
But he said he wouldn't be available until the first or second week of September. So then you just hope that you don't get 12 straight days of rain or something, which you could in September. I mean, that's happened before. But it's good for them to know. I mean, it's nice to know that their people are working, and those are people that spend money in the community, and they have to pay rent and that type of stuff. So good. I'm glad the business cycle is keeping going and picking up. Let me just take a run through here on a few things. It was brought to my attention. I knew this, but I don't think we've ever discussed it. But it came up the other day here in our neighborhood. 911 is no longer just an emergency number. I mean, you don't call because somebody's laying in the street, or somebody got hit, or heart attack, or that type. If you just see a strange car in the neighborhood, used to be you were reluctant to call 911 because they really only wanted emergencies, but they are now our contact to any kind of help. I talked to Mike Leffencheck. He said, absolutely, call 911. He said, if you call our dispatch, they're tied up on the phone until they get done with you. You call 911, they're already sending out the message as you're speaking, and they have the data where the phone call's coming from, who called, but in the meantime, the message has gone out to the police department or to the fire department or the ambulance corps to get to a certain address while they're still talking to you. And if you have a problem, you're hearing a noise at night, strange noise. What we had it in the neighborhood was a neighbor heard what she thought was a car alarm first. And then she was thinking the more she listened, it sounded like a smoke detector. And she's, what if somebody's not home and there's, smoke building up? What do you think I ought to do? I said, well, why don't you call 911 and they'll send a police officer. Maybe what they would do is drive up and down the street and listen and see if they hear it. Well, as it always happens, as soon as she got off the phone, she listened and she heard it stop.
Okay.
So now 2 police cars and a fire rescue type thing show up. And she said, well, I don't know where it was coming from. I don't hear it anymore. So she felt kind of funny. I said, but isn't it great to know how fast they responded?
Yeah.
And also that's the way to do it. I mean, if you're locked out of your house, you would be reluctant to call 911. That's not an emergency. But if you want the Baldwinsville police to show up at your house for something, you call 911.
No, I actually, I'm not sure if my name came up in the course of the conversation, but we had something happen at the brokerage. And it had happened days earlier. So we didn't want to call 911 because there was nothing happening in that moment, right?
Right.
But that's what the officer said. He said, you call 911. And, if he's standing there, it's not a true emergency, and somebody calls 911 that has one, he'll tell us we'll be back, or maybe they don't come within, as quick as they did with the smoke alarm. Mm-hmm. But I was surprised to hear that because I said, I feel like if I was calling 911, I was taking up time that really was taking away from a true emergency. But he said with getting rid of all the numbers that have gotten rid of and the people that monitor the phones and, just like everything in society, right? So I was definitely shocked to hear that this past week as well, that 911 was kind of a, hey, I need assistance, you know what I mean, of some type. It doesn't have to be an emergency.
Now you could still call the Baldwinsville police number, 635-3131. If you have questions, a police officer, if you just say, if you could stop by next week or so, that'd be great. You feel like 911's not going to act like a secretary for you, but you can call our dispatch and they'll take care of it. But they just don't have the tools to get stuff out. They may tell you hang up and call 911 and get on, because now they've got you in the system, which is the best thing. But just thought I would throw that out for people. It's not just an emergency number anymore. It's really is your contact with police, fire, that maybe you just have a question about, do I have enough smoke detectors, and you'd like somebody from the fire department to show up. They would pass that message on. Obviously, if 2 cats are fighting in a side yard, don't call 911. We don't need to tie up 911 for every little thing, but.
So when I see my fish on the bridge, I don't call 911.
All right, let's move on. So I said the court has hired a screener. We're still trying to deal with the issue of if you get sick working, what's the liability? I mean, I assume it covers everybody. I mean, people that work for us now, if they get sick, are they going to come back and sue the village because, well, we had you working when you could have been home? So that's an issue I hear all over the county, people not knowing what they hire somebody or, bring somebody in to do something, and is there a liability for having somebody be there? So that's something that I may have something to put on Facebook or report next week. I'm still trying to get the state to, basically what you hope is that they're going to say, people should understand there is a risk with everything. And if you do that work, there is a possibility. And if it's an issue, then maybe you shouldn't be working at that time. So get on to better things. That's Canton Woods is every day seems to pick up another little bit of steam. They had the Tai Chi, they have the Zoom yoga. Again, that's one that if you go on the Baldwinsville website, baldwinsville.org, there is a link to take you to the Zoom video. You can have it, or the yoga video. And so now you can put it on your TV or your laptop and do yoga in your family room. And that's available until they can do something in person. I'm guessing at some point they may update it.
Yeah.
The book club is meeting in August. I think it's the 18th. I think it's outdoors. I know it's outdoors. But anybody that's interested in the book club, if you've been a member before and you don't know what book they're reading, Edwina Hay, I think, is in charge of the book club, but you could call the senior center 638-4536 and find out details. The art group, Mike Conway, the retired art teacher, has set up to do 2 sessions outdoors next month. I think it's the 1st and 3rd Tuesday. So that's like a week from yesterday will be the first one. So again, call the senior center if you're not currently a member of that art group and would like to be part of it. It's going to be outdoors. They're going to be spread out. And the art group will have its artwork displayed at the library starting August 1st for the whole month. And I talked to Meg Van Patten yesterday for quite a while, and she said it's going to be nice to have something on the walls again. It's been a long, you usually have kids art, different kind of stuff, and now they're going to have the art from the senior art group for a whole month. So that will be nice. I did talk to Meg because I continually have people ask me questions about the library, and while it's not a village operation, for those people who aren't familiar, it actually is linked to the school district. Yep. As far as its budget and that type of stuff. But I asked Meg, what could I tell people for just on daily basis type stuff? She said, mentioned the census that we had talked about last week, and she said they have a computer that is designated for nothing but census filing. So if you've not reported your census information, you can go to the library. They will sit you down at the one particular computer that all it does is link to the census. They do have 5 computers set up that are available, only 5. And you can go on the website to sign up for a time period to be on, or you can call and sign up for those people who don't have computers at home. They still have curbside pickup if that's what you want. You call and order the books you want. They'll tell you when they'll be ready, just like getting your dinner. But now you can go in the building. They can take up to 25 patrons at a time, and that includes the people that are working. Yeah. So she said at this point, it hasn't been a problem. Like the most total was about 18. They have the aisles are one way, so you up, back, so you're not going face to face with somebody coming down the aisle. So for people to wear a mask, that type of stuff. They have a temperature thing and a chart. They have a lot of hand sanitizer, but you can browse, which is a friend down the street had said, I'm a big reader, but I kind of got to look at the book. I got to hold it a little bit and thumb through it and see if it's what I want. And he went by the other day and said, I just got 5 books from the library. He was all excited. So doesn't take much right now to keep us. Some people.
No, it does not. It does not. I talked to Meg on the Heart Home community site last Saturday, and she was talking a little bit about what they were doing. And did she tell you about the record players they have now?
Yeah, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I think we still have a turntable, but I don't even know where it would be. One time I bought my wife some stereo equipment for a Christmas present, and we haven't played a record in 20 years probably. That's why it's always funny when they do these award shows and the record of the year. I said, those people that are getting that award have never seen a record. They don't even know what a record looks like. But yeah, for those people who are not familiar and didn't hear it, they have a new old collection of 33 RPM records. So that if you have I'm assuming by old, they're talking, 40s, 50s, into the 60s, maybe, when records were really big. But they also have like a record player, Bluetooth type record player that you can sign out. So if you want to take it home and listen to records, that it's available. That's pretty cool. I mean,
I thought that was cool. Yeah.
I think when she mentioned that, I said, now that's really cool. And there's only going to be 2 or 3 people in the world interested in it, but for those people, it will be pretty special.
Well, I don't know if I can't speak for your granddaughter, but my daughter asked for a record player this past year for Christmas, and
All
it's Bluetooth. So she listens to like her music off her phone and things on it. But she says to me, "Where can I go get records?" And I was thinking I was going to have to take her to that store downtown Syracuse. So I was extremely excited when Meg had mentioned. So she's bugging me about when we're going to go make the appointment, to go down to the library and take a look for him. So she's 13. It's coming back around.
Oh, that's I hope I stay alive long enough to see it really get back. I used to have a massive record collection. I mean, like with these wall units that I have behind me, the bottoms of the ones downstairs, 3 or 4 of them were full, standing up of albums and albums. And we got rid of I went through, and the ones that I would never listen to, and I kept the ones that I might listen to, except I haven't since we did that. We gave away albums, and there were a couple people that really were looking to get into albums, so they were really excited. I don't even think we made them pay for them, as I remember.
Yeah.
So it worked out kind of nice. So if there's anything else, you can't use the meeting room. They're not booking that. She said the people have been really good. It's been, everybody wears a mask. There's not been any issues. And for those people who haven't been to our library, and that's quite a facility, and the people down there with Meg and Nancy, and all the rest of them, so helpful. If you go on the new memory Facebook site that Tom Dysinger started a while back, there was quite an extensive stretch where people were talking about the old library on Charlotte Street. When I was a kid, it was in a house. And when you walked, the floors creaked and everybody looked, and you couldn't just walk around quietly. Everybody knew you were there. And there really was just like a table with 6 chairs or something. And that was about the only place you could sit down to read in the upstairs area. And then they went to what had been Woolworths, which is right next to, I'm trying to think, across the street from Jen's workout place.
Yeah, Fierce Fitness.
Yeah, right across the street was Woolworths, and then that became the library.
Okay.
Then they outgrew that building, and they got money to build this one. So it's been interesting over the years to watch the evolution from being in a house.
Yep.
Which was kind of small, and if anybody had a cold, everybody got it because you were that close together, to now being in this beautiful facility, and we're blessed to have something like that. And I hope, particularly our young people, realize that not everybody has such a nice facility.
Yeah.
I think if there's anything else that you mentioned that I should mention, no. The courts, I mentioned the screener. They are hoping to open for court the second week of August. The way they've gone on Wednesday night court, the first Wednesday they don't hold court. So it'd be the second, which would be like the 10th, maybe 10th or 12th, whatever that Wednesday is. And it's going to be very well monitored. There'll be a police officer on duty to make sure when you check in that you're supposed to be there. It'll be somewhat by appointment. They're trying to get rid of the cases from before court shut down. There were people who got tickets like the end of February who were supposed to come in March, and then all of a sudden it shut down. So those things are still pending. So they're trying to get all that cleaned up before they get into things that happened during the COVID situation. So would ask for patience, because they're going to be feeling their way through the first couple times they do court. It's all new. We have the sneeze guards up. We'll require people to have masks. There'll be sanitizers and all that kind of stuff. So, so that's court. Brush pickup next week, DPW. It hasn't been a lot of brush because generally it's people mowing their lawns, putting clippings, but until we had a couple rain just recently, the grass has not been growing.
Not growing, no. Nope.
No. And it's been so hot that people haven't been out doing some of the yard work they were doing earlier in the late spring and early summer. I guess the thing I want to wrap up with is this is kind of a good news, bad news thing, see, so I can get away with it with you. The bad news is we're losing or have lost 2 longtime employees that are retiring. The good news is that they're still young enough to be able to enjoy themselves and take advantage of all the time they built up and hopefully have great retirements. Brian Trowbridge from the DPW actually worked out of the water department.
Okay.
Brian is about 30-year employee. He good artist. He was always drawing cartoons. Had a joke for you all the time, and he, I think, came up with a system, or had part of a system logging where everybody's shut off was on every street, so that you could open up and go on your laptop or on your phone and go to a site, and it would tell you if you were in the middle of East and Nida Street where the shutoff was east and west of you, because it used to be they couldn't find it. They had to go all the way to the end of the street and maybe shut off the whole street, for 2 or 3 houses. And Brian had a lot to do with the system that put that stuff down in writing so that the next person who came along and had to do some work would have a much simpler time of finding shutoffs.
Okay.
Brian's a great guy, and certainly going to be missed. Kind of a quiet, just did his work, and sad to lose him. The other retirement is more visible to the community, and that is our SRO, Marty Knoll.
I saw that.
Yeah, had his last day yesterday. They do a nice thing with 911 in which they'll say, I didn't hear it. I had 911 on the scanner, but Mike Leffencheck has said they'll probably have us go to like another channel, so we're not blocking up the day-to-day stuff. And then they'll say, Officer Knoll, this is, they have their ways, they're sitting numbers that say you're signing off permanently and that type of stuff. And so they had a nice little event over at the school. A lot of his family was there, and police officers, and it was Marty's been 28 years with our police department, and I think 13, if I'm not mistaken, 13 is SRO. I think the kids at school are really going to miss him. We will have somebody up there who I think will be very, very good. It's just going to take a little time as they got to know Marty. Marty was easy to see because he's tall. Stood out if you look down into the lobby of the school, Marty was a head above everybody, so you could find Mr. Knoll in a hurry. Great officer. I told him yesterday, I sent him a note. I said, you were a great ambassador for our village. Because when they met Marty, whether it was at the school or on the street, whatever he did represented us very well. Yeah. And I said, I hope you rubbed off on some of the younger guys. Just, it's nice to maybe some older traits show up in some of the younger people. And we'll miss Marty, but we do have good news. He's going to stay on as a part-timer.
Oh, good. We'll still see him.
When we have people on vacation, he may run a shift for us, or if somebody's out sick for a couple of weeks, he'd be available to fill in a shift or two. And it's nice to know that you don't have to train somebody, but he can step right in. And so people will see they're going to, wow, crazy mayor said he retired. I just saw him driving by my street the other night.
And I'll be like, yeah, he's a little wacky sometimes. No, I tell you, the most contact I had with him was the protest that the kids had put together a month or so ago, and he was down there, and you could see the relationship that he had with the kids. It was really nice to, just to see the mutual respect between, everybody. So he definitely will be missed at the high school.
And it's tough to lose two assets who, Brian, I'm sure people ran into him when he was reading meters. He'd be cutting through your yard and always had a smile. I'm guessing if you ran into Brian, you would leave with a pretty good impression. And, I know the same thing with Marty. So it's hard as a mayor to lose people like that. And you just hope that other people are there that will shine when they get the chance. And that's what we put our stock in, is that we have good people. I mean, we do a good job of hiring, and we think this is a good place for people to work. It's a nice community, interesting. And we've been ahead of the curve on the community policing thing, for instance, for quite a while.
Years, yeah.
So there's a lot more talking with people, trying to convince them that there's better ways to drive your car than to go that fast and crazy, and hope that you can, by being nice but firm, you can convince them that you don't want to get stopped again.
Yeah.
We want to explain to you why the speed limit is what it is right here, that type of stuff. And so when the call goes out nationally, need to change the way our police departments do business, we're way ahead of that. We've been doing it for years. So I don't want to dwell anymore on those two guys, because makes me kind of sad to think that I won't run into them at work, but good people, and our community should realize we had two real good ones working for us. And other than that, I don't think I have anything.
Well, as always, you have a decent amount to talk about. I knew, like I said, I knew about the police officer Marty, but I wasn't aware of the DPW gentleman retiring as well. But I haven't had too much happening in my life either, Mayor. So, we just keep trucking along. I'm back home, not in Pittsburgh. Next week when we talk, I'll be back in Pittsburgh. So I got to find a creative background again for.
Well, if you watch our board meetings, Bruce Stebbins is always out in the field somewhere.
Really?
And our attorney looks like he has an Italian vineyard behind him. Kind of hard for me to sit in my office and go, how did they get that duty? He's in front of a vineyard when actually he's sitting in his kitchen.
Yeah, I have the virtual backgrounds, but I move so much that my head half disappears, my hands disappear. If I could sit still, then I could have anything I want behind me. But as you know, when we're talking, I'm bebopping, my hands are flying. So virtual background tonight. I don't go well there. So, all right. Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for, for those who don't know, we were going to meet at 1, and he was flexible enough that we started at 2 today. So I appreciate that. And,
did you get any sign that anybody was live with us?
I did. Yeah. We've had a couple, like 3 steady, and then it goes up a little bit higher and a little bit lower. No comments today though. So the public must be quiet. I do think like the afternoon, which we've talked about before, people are on their day. Like if it was beautiful outside, they'd be outside. So talking 10 or 11, we typically get either the late risers having their coffee, or the people that went out and exercised and they'll come back, or maybe at a coffee break at work, things like that. But
I apologize that I couldn't be available earlier, but hopefully people get to see it when it's replayed.
No, they definitely will. But I was going to say, like, it's, I think we've been fortunate that with everything that you have going on that you do for our village, that we've been pretty much consistent on those Wednesdays. So, but again, what you were doing for Canton Woods is always, that trumps anything that we have to talk about, because that's a very much something important that we have in the community for the senior citizens and stuff. So, all right, Sarah. Well, if I don't talk to you beforehand, enjoy your week, and I look forward to talking to you. Thanks. Bye.
Stay cool.